Season 1 finale of Alone Together, where we write, record, and debut a brand new song every single week. So that's right, we've done this 10 times. This is the finale, and we're about to bring you our new song, The Last Stand of the Great Martian Jam Band. Spoiler alert, we might be the Great Martian Jam Band. Anyway, if this is your first time watching, this is a treat. We're going to listen to the song with you for the first time. We've not even listened to this song yet. How do we do that? So Phil sends me a song idea. I add whatever I want to that song idea. I do not send it back to Philip. So Phil has no idea what I've added to this song. I take that, I send it on to Benji. Benji adds whatever he wants. He does not share with me or Philip. He sends it on to Tamir. Tamir adds whatever he wants. Does not share with the rest of us. Sends it on to Nate. Nate adds whatever he wants. Sometimes he takes some stuff out. Sometimes he produces things a little bit differently. He might change some parts. Then he mixes it, and he sends it to us. I think I got it in my inbox less than 30 minutes ago. So this is the newest song on the planet. I have not listened to it yet. You're going to be listening to it with us for the first time in just a few minutes. So these songs are not demos. They are record release ready. We're probably going to be releasing some of them coming up, so keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, you can get several of our favorite songs in the comments below. We're going to have a link for you. Totally free, unreleased music that you can't get anywhere else. Literally unreleased songs. So very excited to share those with you. They're some of our favorite songs we've ever written. If you're joining us live or after the fact, say hi. Let us know in the comments that you're here. We're going to ask some questions along the way. Feel free to answer those with us too. And if you have any questions, this is a great time to ask. Even if you're watching after, we'll comment back. And if you're watching it live, we'll try to address them in the live stream. We'll try to answer anything you all want to know about how we write music, how we wrote these songs, or just things about us. So ask whatever you'd like. Let's go ahead and bring in the boys.
The boys.
Welcome.
Take a look at that logo.
Hello.
Yeah, that's the premiere of the logo. The first time y'all are seeing the logo. What you think? Let us know in the comics. I see Gabe's in here. Hello, Gabe. Mr. Garcia.
Hello, Gabe.
So if you have not watched before, we always start with a question. We want to hear your answer to this question too. Our question this week is, what is your favorite guilty pleasure album? I'm going to go ahead and start the 3-minute timer. As soon as this timer's up, we're debuting our brand new song. So, let's hear it. Phil, what is your favorite guilty pleasure album?
She is kind of cool now, but I would say anything by Carly Rae Jepsen. I liked her even when she was Just Call Me Maybe.
Just Call Me Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
What album is your guilty pleasure, though? Or does she only have one? I don't know anything about her.
No, she has 3 and a B-sides album, Colin.
Oh, my gosh. How could I?
How could you?
Consistently good stuff.
Yeah, she's great. All 3. They're all great. Can't choose.
Okay, fair enough. I used to really be like ride or die for Katy Perry in the same, like, she's just good. You can't argue with Katy Perry. And then she put out that one song, Swish Swish. That was it. Swish Swish, and I was done.
I was
out.
listening to that live with all of us, and we were like, this is really bad.
Yeah. I'd always been so diehard for her, and then it was like, no, this isn't good.
It's always hard to admit, the first one where you just truly can't.
It's like, this is just
you can't excuse it, the behavior.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not okay. If you're watching at home, let us know. What is your favorite guilty pleasure album? Benji, your favorite guilty pleasure album?
I'm gonna do kind of like a catch-all thing with like a lot of new metal stuff because that's what I grew up like when I first started like listening to different sorts of, experimenting with different music and stuff. I was listening to so much Linkin Park and like, I mean, obviously my first album was like Skillet, which is like new metal adjacent. So I will not usually go back to some of this stuff, but like, I mean, I will definitely have some fun listening to Linkin Park. I will have some fun listening to Limp Bizkit riffs. They're like, they kind of hit.
That's okay. I'm gonna just say right now.
Cool.
Yeah, and he doesn't like Limp Bizkit, right?
The one with the kabuki makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, he always dresses up like a maniac. It's so funny.
Lizzie says hers is the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. That is, I just saw that movie for the first time like a week ago. That is a
There you go.
great movie. Excellent.
You've been working
movie.
on the moves, right?
My favorite is Aaron Carter
Yeah, I was
just
gonna
put
say,
out
that's what we're
Aaron
gonna do.
Carter
Yeah,
put out an album like in 2018, I think, called Gone Now. And nope, that's the name of a Bleachers album. Anyway, Aaron Carter put an album 2 years ago, and it is like consistently the only album I don't skip when it comes up on shuffle, when a song comes up on shuffle. Who would have guessed 2018 Aaron Carter was going to be putting out like true primo pop music? But Lizzie, don't give me a hard time.
Look up his face tattoo. It's great.
But you know what? Gabe agrees with you. The world needs Limp Bizkit right now. I disagree with you. Brand new song in 2, 1.
The song.
Got the call, we're going home. After 10,000 days on the fourth stone, we'll cook ourselves a feast. There's food packed on the ship, string the lights up in the dome. We celebrate before our trip. Get on your suits, strike up the band. One last dance in the red sand. Red sand. The new administration lacks our love of exploration, and the children now must leave their only home. So find Jimmy and Johnny and Mindy and Shawnee for the last stand of the great Martian jam band. Get on your suits, strike up the band for one last dance in the red sand. Red sand.
All right. Wow. Very different. Very, very different. But it sounds awesome. That for those of you, those are Mars noises at the end, right? Phil, tell us about those real quick.
Sure. Well, we'll get into the lyrics in just a bit, but obviously this is a song about the Great Martian Jam Band, and so I took some noise from the actual Mars rover and put it at the beginning and the end, some wind noises, and it swelled at very nice points, so it kind of like started soft and then built up into that first riff and then took us out at the end there. So audio wave wise, it wasn't dissimilar to what you'd get on like an actual swell if you were doing something in a studio.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, it's like it has that same like flowing in and out that you get, that you would add in, but we just have it from actual Mars. We are a Great Martian jam band, so that makes sense.
That's what everyone always says.
Sense. Okay, so we're going into part 3 where we talk about the process. Here we're going to dive in. If you have any questions about how we wrote it, what parts we wrote, why we wrote it, Phil just dropped out. He was going to be the first person that I was going to talk to, but he's back.
Oh, he's back there.
He's back. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it on over, and we're going to do the process.
The process.
All right. Fizz Biz. We got your parts playing in the background. I'm going to take Benji out of here. Let's hear what you did.
So I did a lot of guitarring. I did some...
We're hearing some guitaring right now.
12s. Oh, that's interesting. I think the band got built up so much around me that maybe it didn't stay, or it's really buried in the mix. As you all know, we're hearing these songs for the first time, so sometimes it's like a little overwhelming to piece out what you did that got left in, what got
cut out,
augmented a little bit, or worked around. So yeah, I had like just a kind of a jammy guitar riff, but it was pretty clean. I didn't put too many effects on it or anything. I wanted to really let you and Nate and anyone else who wanted to kind of mess around with any of that kind of stuff. So one thing that's going to be interesting is I'll have to listen back and see if Nate added effects on my parts, or if he re-recorded them, or if he cut them all together and used other people's versions. Because this part for sure, with the little arpeggio over the red, red sand, felt very sort of like 80s new wave, Bowie, Duran Duran kind of jammy stuff, and so that definitely stayed in. I could definitely hear that very audibly, but yeah, that's sort of one of the fun things about this process is that I don't even know what I'm listening to the first time around. It's like, obviously when my voice is in there, that's pretty discernible. Yeah, but
it's like, was that me? Was that Benji?
In World War III, Ben started singing, and I was like, oh, hey, that's not me. And so it's like, you never really know from beginning to end what's going to stay in.
Sure.
Yeah, but just kind of had a few discrete, like, jam band parts that I'd been tinkering with on the guitar and lumped them together. And then when you do that, it tends to, you want to kind of make them flow together smoothly. And so once I did that, it was kind of nice and easy. Started out as 3 or 4 different things that I'd worked on independently, and folded into one nice long jammy jam. And then one thing that was really important to me, I was like, if it's going to be a jam band song, there has to be a healthy back end where we can get some soloing in. So I kept a real sparse back end. Yeah. And I even recorded a bass part with my guitar. I don't have a bass guitar here, so I just recorded with my electric guitar just to indicate sort of like,
this is kind of an idea.
This could be groovy, yeah. And then that was it. So
yeah. So in a minute, so Ty's not here with us today, unfortunately, because the world's starting to open back up. He's back at work. But we're going to listen to what Ty added. We're going to discuss that a little bit too. So I want to go ahead and add this real quick, though. Gabe said, I would love to hear and read the lyrics. Gabe, we are actually going to show the lyrics when Phil's talking about them a little bit later. So they will be up on the screen in just a minute. So Phil sent me this, as you all just heard, and I ended up just really jazzing up this drum part. So this drum part is, this song has like a lot of complicated rhythms. Phil was like really and so I was like playing into that, obviously, pretty much following that to a T in that intro part. And then everything else is just straight driving, some occasional tambourine hits and some occasional swells and things like that to just add a little bit more energy and movement, but otherwise I'm kind of trying to take a bit. I don't know jam band at all. I should just say that right now. I don't know what a jam band drummer does, but I assume the role is to kind of like just play so that the people really soloing can really riff. So I tried to take that approach while still having a slightly different, not just a really straight drum part. As you can hear, this is kind of like syncopated where the beats are kind of on the off beats and like not just straightforward. So it's a little bit different. It changes up a little bit throughout, but it's pretty straightforward. And then funny enough, Phil actually said while we were listening to it the first time, my favorite part of this is that we're all talking while y'all are listening to the song and you can't hear it. And Phil said in there that this sounds like a national drum part. Actually, this part that's playing right now, that like really driving get on the floor tom, and that is a very national. That's one thing I do know is that is a very national drum part. Another band I don't really listen to, but I'm familiar with their drum parts at least. So yeah, so that's how I ended up on this. This song, again, I'm always thinking, am I playing really hard? What kind of tones do I want? Am I playing softer? This song is like a little bit softer, has a little bit more dynamics, and it's not very complicated ever, except for the little fill parts that are kind of following that rhythm that the guitars are doing, the do ga. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Driving the song forward, but not really adding a whole lot. So it's cool to hear, even for me, because I rarely listen to my part soloed. So this is just soloed back. And otherwise, it's just a normal drum tone, normal drum performance, my normal assortment of instruments, the tambourine, and just minimal cymbals, except to add interest here and there. And going back and forth between the hi-hat and the floor tom is my main two choices, because I like to crash when the song calls for it, but I like to mostly kind of just oscillate between things that aren't quite as harsh. I say right as I go into a really drivey part on the crash. So yeah, anyway, so I got this. This is what I added. I sent this on to Benji, and Benji did a little bit of work on this song, I think. So let's go ahead and bring in Benji, and let's listen to what he did and talk to him about it. If you have any questions for me, Benji, Phil, or even Tamir, I can make up answers for Tamir. Let's bring in Benji. Hello.
How's it going? What's up?
What is up? Your guitars are up. Your guitars are
They
playing in
are
the background right now.
Yeah.
Tell me about what the song needed, what your inspiration was, and how you got that.
Yeah, so I had some fun with this because, like, for me, when I'm thinking like jam band, I'm thinking more like less like kind of the modern sort of thing, less of like the Dave Matthews sort of thing, and more like into like just kind of like those like 60s 70s style moments that you'd get a lot, where you would have these, like, obviously Grateful Dead is like kind of known for being like the jam band of jam bands, and so they would use a lot of like, but there's also who am I thinking, like Steely Dan can sometimes be referred to as a bit of a jam band with just kind of what they do. It's very complex. There's a lot of jammy stuff going on. So what I did was I kind of took some of these older recording techniques. So one thing you do is generally when you play guitar, you're plugged into an amplifier and then you're recording that with a microphone. But what you can also do is plug your instrument directly into the input of a recording console and turn up the input volume all the way. So it starts just kind of, basically it's too much volume pumping into these inputs, and they just kind of start giving up and they sound broken and fuzzy and weird. And that's like a real big like 60s 70s things. I mean, like if you listen to Revolution by the Beatles, that's like a great example of like that direct in guitar fuzz tone. They use that all the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, was I did the same thing where I took a hollow body guitar and I put it directly into a dirty preamp for all of my rhythm tones, basically. They were all, pretty much everything rhythm was just really nasty, gross, disgusting, that sort of thing. And then I also did just a regular traditional, just to get a different sound for my solo, because the one thing with the super fuzzy stuff is it all blends together because there's no dynamics. It's just flat. It's just a square wave of disgustingness. So
a square wave of disgustingness.
That is the technical term. And then I recorded just a bunch of fun, super echoey, delay-y, kind of psyche guitar riffs, all of that sort of stuff through the regular guitar amp. Did some fun soloing there. And then I also I also put in, I'm sure you can hear them quite prominently, some organ lines, because that's a big thing. Like jam bands is like there's usually a keyboardist in some way or another. You're either gonna have like some sort of gnarly electric piano or an organ or like I think it's I can't remember the name, but like that weird thing that like Stevie Wonder used on Higher Ground. Just a bunch of like weird sort of different flavors of synthesizer all over it, and there wasn't anything, I didn't do anything crazy with it, but I just left in a really simple flat sort of thing, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun to really like, I mean I just spent like a whole day just throwing on part after part after part, and then my girlfriend was like, can you stop doing stuff? 12:30 and you're still working on it. I was like, yeah, just give me one more synth line.
Yeah. One more. Ooh, we just got a really sweet synth line in there too.
Weird plinky ones on the top. Yeah, so that was just a thing I threw in at the end. I was like, this is like a thing that you hear. It's not really a jam band thing at all, but I just have a cool, crazy arpeggiator on the synth I use, and I just was kind of playing around with it. I was like, this would sound good, just kind of fading in and out and doing like a little bit of a filter sweep in and out.
Yeah, like panning. Yeah, it's awesome. It's really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in here.
It was fun.
You mentioned in there when we were chatting, or like when we were chatting when the song was playing earlier, you mentioned that there's like a famous jazz or like a tell me about that, just because that's like a neat homage.
Let me just pull it up actually so I can play it into my microphone so that people know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So there's this jazz joke basically. It's called the lick.
The lick.
It's this series of notes. It sounds like
okay.
So it's just a bunch of different. This is just a compilation of a bunch of different guys in their solos playing that series of notes. And so sort of as an homage, I mean, jam band is very different from jazz, but a lot of like influence comes in from the jazz realm with a lot of jam band things. So as my own little homage, I threw in the lick near the beginning of my solo.
Benji is a little bit classically trained. I don't know, I can't really speak to that too much, but he went to an arts academy. And so he's got some cool experience that is way beyond mine. That's awesome. So we don't have Ty or Nate here. So Benji sent these on to Nate, so to Tamir. Tamir added bass and maybe guitar. I don't actually know what he added, and he sent it on to Nate. I know Nate added some more guitar work. So we're going to listen through their parts, and we're going to talk about what they played. We're going to do this the same way we do the other ones, so we're just going to do a 3, 2, 1 countdown into the boys' parts. So we're going to start with Tamir since he's next in the sequence, and we're going to listen to his sweet little bass licks. I know he at least has a bass part in there because there's a sweet bass line in there. And we're going to do that in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Just following what we're doing right off the bat. Man, he's good. He's good at bass, isn't he?
Yeah, that boy can play.
Yeah, the bass is such an interesting element because in general it doesn't do a whole lot. Like it's usually just kind of laying down the groove. But then when it starts to move, because it's usually more simple, I always find that when the bass starts moving is when it's like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the goods. It's like when a drummer brings in a triangle. I want you to...
Is it per se?
It's basically exactly...
I would say...
You know what? Let me know in the comments if you agree.
Maybe higher than the triangle.
Let me know in the comments if you agree. Is it like when the drummer brings in a triangle?
It's exactly
I want to know.
Like when the drummer...
And if you don't side with me, you're wrong. Okay,
no,
so like
he had a little grit on the bass too. I was
gonna say that's kind of like a non-traditional thing is in general how much he usually puts a little grit on his bass parts, but I think it's just kind of like a testament to like one, how he knows how to play to the song, and two, what Nate does behind the scenes of how these like kind of more aggressive sounding parts can still really like they do a really good job of pushing and carrying the song without like entirely becoming the main focal point and taking over the song.
Agreed.
So
yeah, especially with the overdrive that you were putting on the guitar in that way. the combination could have been a lot, but it seems to have blended really nicely.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it worked really well, and it's just very nice and pushy and punchy and driving, which is the thing I like. And that's my favorite bass thing, is when like it's a really consistent, like a lot of 16th notes, a lot of 8th notes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a couple weeks back we were talking a lot about like post-punk and that sort of thing, and that's like my favorite hallmark of a lot of that, is just like these really intense driving bass lines that they just don't give up. And so that's a thing I really like. Good job, Tamir.
Yeah.
Good job, Tamir.
Man, he added some good stuff. Okay, so we're going to move on to what Nate added. Nate doesn't always play, but some weeks he does, and this week he did. So let's hear, we're going to have that play in the background. Let's hear what Nate added this week. Just a lot of ripping guitar. So I've already started it for the boys at home. We're already into it, probably 15 seconds.
Well, I told Nate, sometimes Nate he's got other gigs that he's doing right now and other stuff, and I told him, if you can, build in some time this week to work on this song, because I think you will have fun with it specifically.
Yeah.
And, so I especially for the season finale and for this song, I wanted to hear what Nate wanted to add. So I would have actually, some of these things I would have thought were Benji's parts on my first listen. And
so,
then,
I mean, we have kind of similar, not entirely similar, like backgrounds, obviously, musically, but like that sort of like, that's very much a thing that you get a lot in like 2000s emo, 2000s pop punk, that sort of like those spread out chords when you have those like that sort of thing going on. That's very much a thing that is very prominent in there. So like we both use that quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, which is a thing I really like.
Martian jam band scenes heavily.
Yeah, that's kind of the
Martian jam bands and
that's
emo.
where the jam
The
music
overlap
came from on Mars.
is amazing. Oh, that's hilarious. That's great.
They love American football.
Well, so
it's the best.
We're gonna go ahead and talk with Phil in just a second about lyrics. Nate's just starting to heat up. I don't know if we're gonna get to one of Nate's solos today, but when you listen back at the end after we talk about the lyrics, see if you can figure out some of Nate's solos. He's really going right now.
Sometimes I can't tell who's doing who on certain tracks, just because.
Is this Nate or is this me? I don't even.
It's a week later. I had to cram it all out, because like that's the thing with this stuff, is you have to put so much in like such a relatively short amount of time. You listen back and you're like, is that me? Did I do that?
Yeah, it's easy to forget. Forget. Okay, so Phil, we got the song playing in the background here. I got the lyrics up on the screen for Gabe. Gabe, great idea. Could you tell us a little bit about the inspiration for this song?
Sure thing. I had approached this song from a bunch of different angles, and was like thinking it had a nice swing part, and I thought like a dance seemed like a nice approach for it, and then something about it just seemed like weirdly futuristic almost, or there's just seemed to be something that wasn't quite a jam. It felt like a jam band song, but also kind of not. And so I thought, oh, that would be fun to place it in like a Mars colony. And then you have to, anytime you're telling a story, there has to be some like driving, compelling element to it, right? You can't just be like talking about jam bands on Mars. I mean, I guess you could. That would also be cool. But I thought, wouldn't it be more emotional and evocative to talk about the last stand, the last performance of the great Martian jam band? They're going home. The children that they've raised are no longer going to be able to live on their home planet.
Speaking of those children.
Yeah, there you go.
Are they real people?
Are they real people? I mean, I'm sure they are somewhere, but no, they're not. Those are. I mean, my mom's name is Linda, and so that was nice that it was a nice rhyme. But no, they're not. Those are not names that I plucked out of anywhere. I always try to stay as simple as possible, as John Doe as possible on names, because I think it can detract, unless it's built around like a specific name that you want to evoke something from. I just do the Springsteen thing of just like Jimmy, Johnny, like just really make that sort of secondary detail, or not even really a detail, just names of little children who live on Mars, and or I guess these are the names of the band.
Jimmy
members,
and Johnny
right?
and Lindy and Shawnee.
That's the band itself.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's the
course.
band. That's not the kids.
Itself,
That's a
we're
good
striking
point.
up the band. Yeah. So, this is just sort of a dispatch from one of the Mars colonists. Maybe it's the year 3000, and the new administration on Earth doesn't like that they're spending all the money out there. They don't think exploration's worth it, so they got to pack it up. They got to go home. But the band's gonna play one last time because they got all the rations they need. If I can say anything, it is about songwriting. It is that once you find the setting and the drive, it's super easy to write the rest of the song because it's like you're there, right? It's like you could even just do a boggle of here are some settings and here are some situations, and then put those two things together, and then
season 2 is going to be musical Mad Libs.
Musical Mad Libs, where you're kind of inspiring yourself that way, because once you can picture it all, it becomes easy to think of what would you need, and it's almost a case of I didn't want to write too much for this because just want to get out of the way and let the band jam.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're running over, but I'll say one last thing. I thought it was kind of fun. There's a song by Peter Gabriel called Red Rain from his classic album So, and so it was fun to do in the red sand, which is kind of like the cadence that he uses for the red rain.
That is funny. That's a good reference that I did not know, wouldn't have picked up on. You continuously impress me with your expansive knowledge of all songs in the world. Okay, so we're going to bring Benji back in, and we're going to see you in September for Season 2. If this is your first time tuning in, be sure you get in the description for this video. There's a link. You can get some of our favorite songs from this first season. And we'll be back in September for Season 2. We got some really exciting stuff planned for that. We're going to listen to this song one more time.
What a season.
What a season.
What a season.
What a season.
The memories that I have.
The memories that Benji and Benji alone has.
I can only remember this season.
All right, let's do it. The last stand of the Great Martian Jam Band.
Got the call, we're going home. After 10,000 days on the fourth stone, we'll cook ourselves a feast. There's food packed on the ship, string the lights up in the dome. We celebrate before our trip. Get on your suits, strike up the band. One last dance in the red sand. Red sand. The new administration lacks our love of exploration, and the children now